So now that we understand what management is, it's time to move on to understanding operations management. So, operations management is a systematic design, direction, and control of processes that transforms inputs into services and products for internal and external consumers. Let's take a moment to define some of the other terms used in this definition. First of all, processes. Processes are the activities that take inputs and transform them into outputs. The value of the output should always be greater than the sum of the inputs. Inputs into the process include materials, energy, knowledge, and any number of resources. In addition to the cost of these resources, it is also important to account for time. Understanding an organization's processes is a critical part of managing an organization's operations. A starting point for understanding any process is to illustrate that process visually, and an important tool for creating visual representations of a process is called a flowchart. A flowchart uses some simple shapes and text to create a visual representation of a process that makes it easier to understand. There is no one right way to create a flowchart. However, there are some general accepted tools that can be applied. Typically in a flowchart, there are a number of shapes that represent different features of this flowchart. The first shape we'll be talking about is the oval. The oval represents the starting and ending point for the process. In this case, the process begins when a customer submits a PO. Directional arrows represent the direction of flow of the process. Rectangles represent activities in which the resources are applied in the creation of the good or service. In each of the rectangles in the example, some sort of activity is occurring. The diamond represents the decision point. This is a point at which, depending on the predetermined qualification, the path may be altered. Looking at the example, after the contact agent reviews the order, they check whether the order falls under standard terms. This represents a fork in the process. If it does fall under those standard terms, the flowchart goes one direction. If it does not, the flowchart goes another. Creating a flowchart of a process is an important step in understanding and managing that process. It makes it easier to identify weaknesses and inefficiencies in a process. Operations are the groups of resources required to perform the processes. Operations represent the combination of all processes required in the creation of a good or service. And lastly, customers are the end users of the good or service being created. Those customers can be outside of the organization, which is what we typically think of when we think of customers, or internal to the organization. Anybody that needs something from somebody else within the organization is a customer of the person that is providing that good or service within the organization. Operations is the execution of activities that allows for the organization to create value. Successful organizations understand that these activities are constrained by overall corporate strategy. A successful corporate strategy is the ability to identify, maximize, and maintain a competitive advantage. Strategy should be the driving force behind all activities. A well thought out strategy leads to effective tactical decisions, which dictate operational activities. Some organizations jump straight into operations without a refined strategy. Success, however, requires that more than just knowing the moves. The difference between a chess player and someone who plays chess comes down to strategy. Someone who plays chess knows the basic moves and plays in the moment. A chess player knows the moves, but also tries to understand their opponent and develops a strategy to win, playing several moves ahead of the present move. Similarly, success in business requires a broader view and understanding. Successful business strategies come from effective environmental scanning. Environmental scanning is done both internally and externally. External scanning involves looking for opportunities and threats from outside. These come from the industry, marketplace, society, economy, technology, politics, environment, and any other outside forces. These are areas in which the organization typically has little to no influence. However, understanding and anticipating opportunities and threats in these areas can lead to big successes. Internal scanning involves looking at the strengths and weaknesses within the company. This is an analysis of the organization's competencies. This internal analysis should cover the organization's workforce, facilities, market, and financial know-how, access to resources, internal systems, and technologies, to name a few. These are areas in which the organization typically has influence and can adjust accordingly. This scanning can be summed up in the SWOT analysis of the organization. A SWOT analysis is a summary of the internal environmental scan, strengths and weaknesses, and the external environmental scan, opportunities and threats. Understanding a SWOT is critical in developing a successful strategy that can be executed by the organization. The SWOT analysis is opposite of the SWAG analysis. A SWOT analysis looks at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A SWAG analysis is just some wild-ass guess. Success comes from an articulated strategy, and strategy is developed through careful planning, not guessing. Once an organization has developed an overall strategy, they can now determine their competitive priority. The competitive priority helps to define the approach the organization will take for success. There are 8 basic competitive priority types, divided into 4 main categories. The first category is cost. And the competitive strategy or the competitive priority under cost is low-cost operation. This is the ability to deliver a good or a service at the lowest possible cost and still satisfy the customer. Walmart is a low-cost leader and has achieved this status through aggressive investments in its logistics. One of its stated goals is to get products from the producers to the consumers as quickly and as cheaply as possible. The second category has to do with quality, consisting of top quality and consistent quality. Top quality is the ability to deliver an outstanding product or service. Rolex, for example, is known for and has created an advantage based around meticulous craftsmanship, above and beyond what is required just to tell time. Consistent quality is that production of goods or services that meet specifications on a consistent basis. ATK has to produce parts for rockets that meet very tight specifications and have a consistent quality with virtually no variance. Any variance could mean catastrophic failure, leading to severe harm, loss of large amounts of capital, and even death. The third category is time and includes delivery speed, on-time delivery, and development speed. Delivery speed is the ability to fill a customer's order quickly. Netflix is an example of a delivery speed by providing a huge catalog of movies that can be delivered with the touch of a button. A very different experience than going to a Blockbuster years ago. On-time delivery is the ability to meet delivery promises. UPS invests millions in technology infrastructure to make sure that it is able to continue to maintain its advantage in on-time delivery. Development speed is the ability to quickly introduce new products or services. We use a company called I-95 to create software integrations. One of the reasons we chose them over other companies was their speed to development. They have developers placed all around the globe, taking advantage of the different time zones in order to be able to program 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The last category is flexibility. This category includes customization, variety, and volume flexibility. Customization is the ability to satisfy unique needs of each individual customer by changing the good or service being offered. Spry Cycles, a local bicycle company, makes mountain and road bikes based on specific needs and desires of the customer. The lead time for the bikes is 3 to 4 months, but it is built specifically for each rider, including the custom paint job. Variety is the ability to effectively handle a wide assortment of products. One of Amazon's taglines is less of more. Amazon aims to be the preferred source of everything. And then volume flexibility, which is the ability to accelerate or decelerate the rate of production or services depending on demand. Brighton and other ski resorts set up their operations to meet the wide swings in seasonal and weekly demand. As we discussed in this module, effective management of operations leads to organizational success. Effective management of operations comes through understanding the overall strategy of the organization and the value that is being created, and an analysis of organizational processes.